Good morning, Adam. How are you doing today?
Morning, guys. What's going on?
I guess we have to start here because this has been what we've been talking about over the last half hour. Do you mow your own lawn?
Do I mow my own lawn? I do not mow. Do not mow. We have field turf. We put in field turf.
Ooh. Chewy, how do you feel about that?
Not a grinder. He's not a grinder. He's got
no.
Because this all came from
Chewy.
Mike Tomlin. Yeah.
I'm a grinder, but in different ways.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was about to say.
That's fair.
I have a hard
That's
time
fair.
telling Adam he's not a grinder. Dude's got like 2 different phones. He's answering while he's on television. He's up all nights, all hours of the night, just getting NFL news out there.
Well, this all stemmed from Mike Tomlin in his press conference saying he doesn't even know he cuts his grass. And I was telling Gabe, when I played, I cut my own grass and I plowed my own driveway.
Wow.
That's what 6th-round picks do. They just grind. So I was a little disappointed. And I love Tomlin. I love him. One of the best coaches in the league. But I was a little disappointed by his answer.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
I could see that. I could see that.
Adam, we didn't have the opportunity to talk to you about this last week, but a couple of weeks ago on Sunday Night Football, the Lions scored what was an apparent touchdown on a nice little kind of trickish play where they motioned out Jared Goff, and ultimately a penalty flag was thrown on the play, correctly thrown on the flag because coming from under center, you have to stop if you're going in motion at some point, and Goff never did. But on a local radio show in Detroit, Dan Campbell said that an official told him that call did not come from the field, but it came from New York. And it appears that the Sky Judge or whoever decided that, hey, there's a penalty on that play. Why is the NFL, it feels just so secretive to me as to when and why they use the Sky Judge. Why is that not just more straightforward with everybody so everybody kind of understands what's going on?
It's come up a few times. All I could say is that there always have been. I mean, I've been in the room. There always are a group of officials in the league offices watching all the games, and I guess this year they're communicating more to officials, which, by the way, they should be. Like, it's more eyes, more voices, more opinions, more what's wrong with that? Like, to me, that's the right thing to be doing. So, I mean, I don't have any issues with that. I don't. That's me.
I have an issue,
though.
Yeah, that's the thing. It just seems secretive. Like, getting the call right, I understand that, Adam. But, like, being forthright, because there are times where it seems like because the phrase I feel like they use on the field is after further discussion. That's kind of the tell that maybe something came in from a Sky Judge. Okay, so How come there isn't a protocol? Because sometimes coaches have to use a challenge flag. Other times they don't because the Sky Judge comes in. I just want to know the protocol of when it isn't being used on the field.
And I don't know how it works, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I
think that's a problem.
I think they're. I'll ask. I'll ask somebody in the league office, but to me, again, these people are watching the game. They're charting the game, monitoring the game. I want more eyes, more voices, more perspectives, so that nothing goes wrong. That's what I want.
Adam, in making a Super Bowl run for the Packers, who's more important to the team, Micah Parsons or Jordan Love? And I'll say this. Last year, LaFleur was able to cobble together some offensive game plans with Malik Willis, who won the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think with Micah Parsons out, there's no cobbling. There's no way they can stop a very good offense in this league. And that's why I know it sounds funny. I think Micah Parsons is more important to the Green Bay Packers in a run than Jordan Love. What do you think?
I don't. I mean, you know what? Here's the deal. You're not going to be able to go as far as you want unless you're getting the type of play that you need from Jordan Love. And Jordan Love has had some real high moments, but it's inconsistent. When he's not playing well, when he's turning over, they're not winning. They're not winning. Mm-hmm. And they won last year without Micah. They're a better team with Micah. Of course, every team would be a better team with Micah, but I still go back to the quarterback. And I still think that that's more important than a great edge rusher like Micah Parsons is. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I feel.
Whether it's HVAC, sheet metal, or welding, Smart 18 members are trained to be the best in the business with top-tier wages, unbeatable benefits, and lifelong career support. It's not just a job, it's a career. Learn more, smart18.org, smart18.org, and start building your future today. We are less than 2 weeks away from the trade deadline, Adam. If the Packers were to make a call to anybody, what position do you think they would be looking for to try to improve the team?
Maybe defensive backs. Defensive back would be logical. I think a lot of people are looking for defensive backs. Could see that being the case. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking defensive back, or maybe because Devontae Wyatt is hurt right now, and obviously their defensive tackle depth was hit in the acquiring of Micah Parsons. So I think that either cornerback specifically in the defensive backfield and probably defensive tackle, I think would be kind of the two areas that they would look to improve, because the run defense hasn't been as good with Devontae Wyatt out because they're just not deep at that position.
Do we have any idea when he's back?
Week to week is what they've been saying. I'm hoping he's back within. Doesn't seem like he's going to be back this week. I'm hoping maybe next week against Carolina. I mean, obviously they didn't think it was that serious. Otherwise, they would have put him on IR with a designation return. And this is, if he doesn't play this week, it's the third straight week he's missed.
Well, if they didn't put him on IR, they expect him back then here in the next couple of weeks.
Exactly.
Practical. And sometimes they go a little bit longer. Maybe it's 5 weeks. I don't know, but they could use him back. That'll help you run defense. And, every team's got needs going into this deadline. I've been surprised, frankly, that last week there were no real trades, and this week nothing so far. Like, I was expecting more the last 2 weeks, which means we'll probably get quite a bunch of activity here in the next couple of weeks leading up to the deadline.
Is that because it's just been so wild over the first 6-7 weeks of the NFL season that teams are still thinking that hey, maybe we can, if we win a game or two, we can make a run at this. We don't have to sell off pieces.
Well, like look at Cincinnati. You heard Trey Hendrickson's name last week, and all of a sudden they win a game on Thursday night. And you're like, well, you know what? Maybe we want Trey Hendrickson around here to try to make some kind of push. So I think teams, yes, that there's a certain element of truth to that. Teams are trying to figure out whether or not they are make a push. But beyond that, you still need two people. Like, I've had people ask me, are the Dolphins or the Raiders, the Jets going to have a fire sale? Let me be very clear. No team is ever going to have a fire sale. Every team, if they get value for their players, would be willing to listen, including those teams that aren't winning. But if they're not just in the market to give away players to go help another team without getting commensurate value in return.
Adam, what's your take on the Chicago Bears? They do have two pretty good wins in Dallas and Washington. Should the Packers be looking in the rearview mirror when it comes to the division?
Well, listen, I think it was always going to take some time for Caleb Williams to get acclimated to working with Ben Johnson. I always felt like they were going to get better and better as the year went on. The teams they've beaten the last few weeks haven't been a murderer's row, but they're still wins, and they're still getting better all the time. Would I be concerned about? I'd be aware of them for sure. They're starting to get things on track. They have some holes they have to address and fill still, but they're playing better football. They're winning. I don't care who they're playing. So, yeah, that whole division right now seems to be a little bit dangerous, which you knew it would be going into the season anyway.
Talking with Adam Schefter, as we do every Wednesday here on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. What was your thought on the way the Vikings decided to try to defend the tush push this week by putting a defensive lineman parallel with the line of scrimmage to try to – I don't know what the purpose of it was, but I just enjoyed the creativity of, hey, let's try this, see if this helps with the tush push.
That whole thing, nothing else has really worked. So if you want to just body down in the middle of the line of scrimmage and crack his ribs and whatnot, then fine, go do it. Like, nobody stopped the play. That's what they tried to do. It was an amusing sight to see, but nobody's got a solution for it still. Nobody.
Adam, are the Ravens still alive at 1-5?
I think they are. True. I think I'm not ready to write them off. In fact, I picked up their fantasy defense this morning in one of my leagues because I'm ready for a second half push. If you take a look at their schedule here, like just look. I mean, they're 3 games behind the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, right? 3 games. Okay. So let me give you their schedule here in the coming weeks. Chicago at home, at Minnesota, or at Miami, at Minnesota, at Cleveland, home for the Jets, home for Cincinnati, home for Pittsburgh, at Cincinnati, New England, at Green Bay, at Pittsburgh. Like, look, their margin of error is greatly reduced, and they're 3 games behind. They're not in an enviable position. But to say they're out of it or dead, no, not with that schedule. And now, I think they're going to make a run at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're going to be heard from again. I think they'll make it interesting. And I still think they have a shot to win the division.
Is Lamar expected back soon then? Because I look at that, yes, it's an easier schedule, but they have struggled mightily when Lamar hasn't been healthy and available to them. So are you expecting Lamar to come back soon?
Well, that's the whole issue. Because I honestly would have thought that he would have been back at practice on Monday, and he wasn't. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Well, that's interesting. Today, if he doesn't practice today, I would think he's not going to be out there this weekend. Again, which would be, I would think, disappointing for that team coming off a bye. You'd think that its quarterback, would have a reasonable chance of coming back this week. And that would be another week, and that would not be good. Again, if he's not out there today, that's a problem for them this week against the Bears. Advantage Chicago, and we'll see if Lamar's out there this afternoon in practice.
And is New England for real?
Definitely. I mean, not even a question. I'm just telling you the truth here. Like I did an event with Robert Kraft in the offseason at Fanatics doing Q&A. I said to him before, I said, RKK, he likes to be called RKK, I actually think that you can win this division. And he said, wow. So do I. And I said, you know what, let's text Vrabel right now. It was mid-June. Let's text Vrabel and tell him that we both think that he can win the division. So I texted Mike, and he texted me back, thanks for ruining my summer vacation, and put the pressure on.
Chewy, I bet Vrabel mows his own lawn, right?
Oh,
he
I guarantee he does. Guarantee.
Yeah. That's what Chewy wants to know. He wants to know what percentage of people in the NFL are mowing their own lawn. But one of those teams that's a surprise team at this point in the season, the Indianapolis Colts, is that just another example of wherever a quarterback gets drafted, like the everything else that goes into it, whether it's the coach, teammates, that also just plays such a big impact on how a quarterback develops? Because I like Brian Daboll as a coach, and it seems like he's doing some pretty good things with Jackson Dart right now, but they couldn't put it together with Daniel Jones, and now he's looking really good in Indy.
Well, I would say this. Number one, the Colts haven't made a ton of moves in the offseason. They drafted Tyler Warren and they signed Daniel Jones, and they've become right now the team with the best record in football. So that right there, again, speaks to my Micah Jordan Love question of how important the quarterback is and his value. And Daniel Jones is a guy, let's also remember this, that, a couple of years ago, the New York Giants chose Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley and paid him $40 million a year. So they identified him as a guy capable of doing just this type of work. And now he's getting it done in Indianapolis. And I'll tell you another thing. Again, I remember being in the offseason this year. Minnesota wanted him back. Indy wanted him, but there were a couple of other teams who I was talking with, and I'm like, well, what are you going to do here if the quarterback doesn't work out? And they're like, Daniel Jones. I'm like, wow. Like, I heard it from a couple people I respect, and I was like, wow. There is a much higher opinion, more regard of Daniel Jones amongst teams than there is fans. And I think he's validated that this season with the way that he's played in Indianapolis.
When do you think the Vikings are going to go back to J.J. McCarthy?
Well, they think that he has a chance to be, the way it was told to me, he has a chance to be ready next week at Detroit. Chance. They're practicing him limited this week. And let's be honest. I think that if they go out and win on Thursday night against the Chargers and Carson Wentz plays well, that might give them another week to rest J.J. McCarthy. And if he doesn't, they might want to bring back J.J. Although that's a tough matchup at Detroit. That's a tough matchup. And I mean, Troy Aikman said it really well at the end of that game on Monday night. They're missing their whole secondary, their whole starting. There aren't many teams in the league that can be missing starting secondaries and come out and hold the Buccaneers to a season-low 9 points and shut them down. Shut them down. You know, whether that was from the pressure of Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil up front. But those guys who had never been put in that spot in the secondary, they stepped up and they played a big-time game.
Adam, certainly appreciate the time, my friend. Look forward to talking to you again next week as we continue to get closer and closer to that trade deadline.
Guys, have a great day. Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, it's Jen from Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. Thanks for watching our clip. I'm sure it was super informative and educational. I'm just kidding. I love those knuckleheads. And we do it live every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee. Make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you get informed anytime we drop new content.